Hey everyone, welcome to another video. So parked next to me is not a Ferrari. It's a 2022 Lotus Emira straight out of Hethel, England, brought over to the UAE, and I'm going to be driving it around the streets of Dubai, letting you know what it feels like on a daily. So stick around, it's going to be a good one. Have that awkward kid from your childhood that no one really gave him the time of day, they didn't have much of a following, but then you bump into him so many years later as an adult and they're all like cleaned up, doing well for themselves. That's what Lotus is to me. Now allow me to explain. So as an upcoming petrol head from the 80s, I used to sit around with my cousins and friends and we used to talk cars. We spoke cars in front of posters that had the Ferrari Testarossa or the Lamborghini Countach. And the cars that we got together and spoke about were cars like the Toyota Supra, the Honda NSX, the Nissan Skyline GTR, cars that are still very relevant today. But at no point do I remember us ever talking about Lotus. I mean, sure, you would see the occasional one on the road. Maybe it was the Lotus Elan or the Esprit that I guess Julia Roberts made famous in the movie Pretty Woman. But it wasn't really a car that we coveted. All that changed in 2019. I was invited back then, a few years ago, to the private unveiling of the Lotus Evija. Now, if you're unaware, the Lotus Evija is Lotus's hypercar. I'm talking 2,000 horsepower, all electric, all-wheel drive, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour under 2 seconds. And that's when I was like, damn, Lotus are onto something, because not only are they delivering on the goods, that's a beautiful looking car. Granted, it was the prototype, but the car's coming out next year, and I promise you, it's looking very close to the prototype that I saw a few years ago. Then this Emira comes out, which is inspired by the design of the Evija. But this is an internal combustion engine. Sadly, the last internal combustion engine that will leave the Lotus plants. And that's why this one is very special. It's a legacy, in my opinion, to the Lotus brand, to have the last of the internal combustions. Speaking of internal combustions, Lotus offer the Emira in two configurations. The first is Toyota's 2GR-FE, the 3.5 liter supercharged V6, and that one is capable of putting out 400 horsepower and 420 Newton meter of torque. That allows you to reach 100 kilometers an hour from a standstill in 4.3 seconds. Now, that configuration, you have the option of a 6-speed manual, which so happy that's the one that I got my hands on. And you have a 6-speed single clutch automatic. Single clutch, I don't know. I'm not here to judge. But on the other hand, you have a 2-liter straight 4-cylinder that is turbocharged. That comes from the A45S AMG. That one is slightly down on power, which is 360 horsepower, but slightly up on torque, which is 430 Newton meter of torque. That one, you don't have an option of a transmission. You are stuck with an 8-speed dual clutch automatic transmission, which is why I believe it gets better 0 to 100 times according to some reviews, even though the claimed is around the same, 4.2 seconds. For the life of me, I don't know why Lotus are offering two power plants that are very similar in their output. I would have liked to see an 8-cylinder variant, something that is just off the charts on power, that really can put up a fight with supercars. Because don't get me wrong, this one can on the track. It's extremely nimble, very agile, very aerodynamic. The downforce that it gets, the agility, the stability, this is everything that is synonymous with the brand of Lotus. But that top end power is where you can really break the 200-mile-an-hour barrier, which unfortunately this one doesn't. That would have been a fun variant. The model that I'm currently in is the 6-cylinder from Toyota, the supercharged one. And this is what they call the first edition. That is finished, I believe it's a magma red color. At the time that this came out in 2022, Lotus only had 6 color options that you could choose from, but recently they released another 7. So if I do the math correctly, that's 13 colors that you can choose from. So yeah, you can go to the configurator online and just configure the car like you want. If you're gonna do that, you have various options here and there, like a black pack, which allows you to get black roof, black handrails, black badges, black exhaust tips. Rims, you don't really have that much of an option. You have 3 finishes of the same design. I believe you've got other stuff like a tracker, vehicle tracker. You've got privacy glass, which allows you to get the rear quarter windows and the rear windshield in a darker, as if the car's been tinted. In terms of performance variants, you have the Touring, which is a bit softer around town, better for daily driving. And you have the Sports variant, which is better if you plan on tracking this car. Other than that, you've also got other technologies like rain sensing wipers, lane keep assist, you've got a driver fatigue monitor, you've got USBs A's and C's around, 12-volt socket right behind you. It really is brought up to the standard of what you expect with today's technology. Reverse camera as well on this beautiful 10.25-inch touchscreen. Has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, which is great. And a 12.3-inch TFT display in front of me of an instrument cluster, which I have to say, kudos to the design team who designed the user interface of both. It's clean, it's crisp. I appreciate this kind of details and the cleanliness, even down to the AC controls. The little figure guy has a helmet on. I like that touch. It's little quirks like that that make me smile. Now, what good is a 10.25-inch touch screen unless you have an audio system that's going to back up whatever you're trying to bang out of those speakers? This brings me to the KEF system that is in this car. KEF is a brand that is debuting their launch into the automotive segment with the Lotus Emira. And this is a 3-speaker setup, but 560 watts. It's got a subwoofer as well, 10-channel. Sounds pretty good. I don't think you need more than that in a car like this. Practicality also isn't too bad. I mean, if we're going to look at this car's brief, which is that it needs to work on the road as well as on track. On the road means practicality. For what it is, I'm actually surprised with the practicality of it. I've got the storage in the door bins, the armrest over here. Behind the seats, I have around 200 liters of storage space, which can fit some luggage. And an extra 150-liter little cubby tucked away next to the engine, which, as you'll see, fits a carry-on luggage, which is pretty good. Not to forget the glove compartment here as well. I've been driving this car now for 2 days, and I have to say I'm really impressed with the direction this brand is going. When you look at their history, cars like the Exige and the Elise, those were pretty harsh on the eyes. I'm sorry, fanboys, that's just my opinion. The Evora came out and made things slightly better, but this is where Lotus is really entering that game-changing era where this car looks like a supercar, feels like a supercar. The materials, the Napa leather, the Alcantara, all of this tech right here, they're really pulling their socks up, and it feels nice. Is it going to throw you out of your seat with the raw power that it has? Absolutely not. It's not going to be winning any drag races either. But as a tool for making you feel special, it does. I've been driving this around traffic, and I've noticed cars that I'm next to just... So the fact that it has all that going for it, and a manual transmission, which I absolutely love. It's very clunky, it feels raw, it's a bit heavy, especially the clutch. That can get tiring if you're in an environment where you've got to be driving in traffic a lot. It's going to get annoying. I love that they've kept this Pagani style manual linkage right here, which shows you a bit of how the mechanics are working. Even this throttle lever, I don't know what it's called, visible in my rear view. Every time I change gears, you can see that little throttle actuator just moving. I like it. Also, its size is actually quite impressive. They've compiled all of this into such a small package. It's not as intimidating as driving a supercar. The fact that you get all of that at a price point, which, let's be real, is a bargain. That I can get this car with these looks and the performance, the technology that it has, for 415,000 dirhams. Granted, that's for the V6, the one that I'm in. The 2-liter turbo is actually cheaper, 395k here in Dubai. Prices are as of July 2023. I don't know how prices are going to change, so don't quote me on those. But that pricing for all of this, it's a steal. But it isn't all fun and games. There are a few quirks about this car, as there are with every car. One of the things I don't like is this hydraulic steering. And I never thought I would say that. Now, when you're driving around town like this, it's fine. Driving on the track, it's probably even better. But low speed maneuverability, let's say parking the car, it's pretty stiff. It's not like one of those cars where you can just flip the wheel around, parallel park, and you're good. It puts a bit of effort. It has something which I'm going to assume is a flaw, which is when you're turning a curve, the steering wheel doesn't automatically unwind like it would in every other car that I've driven. It kind of holds its steering angle a bit longer than it should, which forces you to have to manually unwind it. Seating position as well is not ideal. I'm a tall guy. I've got this chair pushed all the way down, and I'm still too high for where I would like to be driving this car right now. My left foot to the left of the clutch pedal is pushed in way too much to the center. I would like a bit more room for my left foot when it's just sitting there doing nothing. If I'm going to be picky, there's this center infotainment screen. They have it pretty flat in the center, which is kind of pointless. I'd like it angled a bit more towards me. Also, if I'm going to be picky, I would say this car revs too high. When I'm cruising around, especially on the highway at higher speeds, doing 120, 140 kilometers an hour, yeah, it can get a bit loud cruising on the highway. So I'm about to gather my final thoughts for this car. It really is a special one. I'll give them that. I really love where this brand is going. They're definitely on the right foot. The fact that they're designing cars that look like this, that look so much prettier than a lot of supercars I know on the road, they're offering it with a manual transmission still. And you're getting this entire package at a bargain. Really, I don't see why you wouldn't want this car. So I'm gonna enjoy this around the streets of Dubai a bit, putting it in track mode right now, enjoying the curves. It really is a fun car to drive around town. Lotus, you really nailed it. Well done. So, massive shout out to Lotus Cars UK for lending me this car. And if you want to experience this car yourself, head to Adamas Motors here in Dubai. They'll hook you up. Lovely people down there, really. Thank you for organizing this car for me. And a massive thank you to you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe for more content. Like, share, comment. Tell me, out of the 13 colors that this car is offered in, what color would you have it? Would you go for the V6 supercharged or the 2-liter turbocharged? Let's have a conversation. Let's see where everyone's head's at. So again, thank you for watching, and until the next video, take care.